Guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we will be exploring and exposing the dark psychology of Phaledi Madungandaba. Madungandaba is a South African reality TV personality, entrepreneur, and farmer.
I don't live with my kids. The dad lives with them, and I see them over the weekends. At first, it was a bit hectic. It was hard. I mean, there were times where, I almost lost it.
May I ask why the kids live with him instead of you?
I was married to an older person, so he's in retirement now.
Corey, I missed the first part, retirement.
And is retired now.
Oh, okay. Uhamba kanjani ushiya abantwana bakho wegeli, you wanna go slay the streets? What's going on? How dare you leave your kids?
Phaledi was first introduced to our screens on the last season of The Money Club, which is season 3. And like the rest of South Africa, I was excited to end my nights with a dose of my guilty pleasure. The Money Club is a show that is meant to showcase beautiful and accomplished South African women in their motherhood journeys. The show previously did a good job portraying this and giving women a platform to help grow themselves and create a community of like-minded people and mummies. Season 3 came and everyone was glued to their screens, ready for some positive, wholesome content, but boy, did we not get thrown to the pits of toxicity. There were 4 new mummies added to the cast, one of them being Phaledi Madungandaba, the woman that made it her mission to suffocate positivity and empower toxicity in the space of womanhood. It was pretty clear from the first episode that she had nothing to offer but the darkness that resides in her. Her narcissistic tendencies were very prominent in her oblivion to her own shortcomings. This video is not a light-hearted review of her behavior in the Mummy Club, but a deep dive into her psychology and toxic nature. From the show, we learned that Phaledi is a 31-year-old divorcee. She was previously married to a man 33 years her senior, who left her with absolutely nothing after the divorce. He even got full custody of their children. She is a poultry farmer. From the show, we never really saw her home, never saw her family members except for one scene with her sister that actually for me cemented that Phaledi's issues stems from her childhood.
You said he was much older. What was the age gap?
33.
33 years.
What? Yo.
Hey, that's like literally marrying your dad.
I mean, a lot of people perceive that when I got divorced, I probably got a huge settlement, and that was not the case. I walked away with nothing, literally nothing. No house, no car, nothing. Just my sword sakis and I had to go and rent.
From the onset, it was clear Phaledi had some narcissistic tendencies from how she related with the other women, especially Noxy. A narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. It was clear Phaledi had a sense of grandiosity that was uncalled for, especially since she did absolutely nothing to be treated as such. She had a constant need for admiration from the other ladies. She showed a lack of empathy when she headed an uncalled for bully campaign against Noxy out of envy. So the show begins, and there was a scene where one of the newly casted mummies, Noxy Khumalo, well known as Noxy, was sharing with the ladies in memory of her and her husband's trip to Scotland, and we all got to witness Noxy's bubbly personality. We also learned Noxy is married to a white man, but overall we got to experience the beautiful woman inside and out that Noxy is. And when the camera moved across the table to Phaledi, there it was, on her face, admiration. And it was then I knew this was going to be bad, because it is in the way she was looking at Noxy, admiring her and simultaneously being triggered and envying her. The recipe for disaster. To fully understand the psychology of Phaledi, we need to understand the stages of envy that she went through with regards to Noxy, to really see how her psychological makeup is. So I would love for us to explore the different stages of envy and how they relate to Phaledi. Firstly, I would love for us to differentiate between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is a common human emotion. Jealousy is simply rooted in wanting something that someone else has, especially if it's something hard to obtain. However, jealousy is often fleeing. Envy, on the other hand, is when a person becomes fixated to a particular person. So it's not just a matter of wanting what the other person has, but it's wanting to embody the individual altogether. A lot of the times, jealousy is a precursor of someone getting to the stage of envy. So the first stage of envy is admiration.
7 years old. We met on Valentine's Day.
Oh, nice. Where? Mawufika ekhaya and you're saying, oh, umkhonyana wethu is white. Did they
Yes.
accept it? What was that also?
It was not easy. My mom was like tripping. What?
It's 2025. I've never been with a white person and I'm intrigued, to be quite honest. I just want to know how Noxy navigates around it. I'm very intrigued, actually.
Phaledi first admired Noxy for her bubbly and light-filled spirit. She admired that Noxy is married to a white person because in her narcissistic mind, this gave Noxy social power over her. She then admired Noxy's innocence of spirit. She of course also admired that Noxy is a career woman and was very clearly in a wealthy marriage regardless of her humble spirit. However, Phaledi started to get consumed by what Noxy has, who she's married to, how she carries herself, and once she started becoming consumed by Noxy and her energy, it shifted from admiration to the second stage, which is the coveting stage. At this stage, she didn't just admire Noxy's life, she wanted to live vicariously through her. This is when we saw Phaledi start to try and morph into this morally upright and spiritually pure woman by projecting all her internalized hatred towards Noxy. Guys, this is deeper than what it seemed in the show. She did this by shaming and lecturing Noxy about African women and the right way to carry themselves. She created these rules where she was basically insinuating that living outside the scope of the rules she made rendered you not African enough and immoral. It is during this time that the God complex Pheladi has reared its ugly head. This was Phaledi's way of living vicariously through what she observed Noxy to be. She saw Noxy's purity and she had it in her mind that if she impurified Noxy's energy in the eyes of the public and the rest of the ladies, it would make her seem more pure. Then the third stage is the competitive stage. At this stage, it is after trying to upstage and shift attention from Noxy didn't work. Phaledi entered this stage, and it's this stage that she became more competitive and everything started to become a tit for tat. Whatever her target does, she wanted to do it bigger and better. She may have tried to do certain things first, because it is in the stage where we start to see her get a little more conniving and cunning. She started to infiltrate her subject of envy's, Noxy's, friendships, intimate relationships, and mutual partnerships. And once Phaledi reached this stage of competitiveness, that's when she started to pose more of a threat, and that's when her relentless nature started to rise to the surface.
You come across as a person, imposing.
Marrying a white guy is an achievement.
I'm anti-Noxy. You are oppressive.
Oh my God.
Who the do you think you are?
I've been trying to become with you. You are damn arrogant. Over it.
Following the competitive stage is the fourth stage of jealousy. Jealousy typically follows once the envious person realizes that competing with their target has not been successful. They haven't attained that thing, they haven't been able to outdo, outshine, and they haven't been able to shift people's focus and attention from the target to them. This is when, in the show, Pheladi started to take each chance she got to downplay, undermine, and invalidate Noxy's contributions to the group and accomplishments as a whole. This stage, or rather approach, really failed with Pheladi, as this is an approach that often requires the people she's discrediting Noxy to be in agreement and unison with her, even when she's wrong. Unfortunately for her, and fortunately for Noxy, Mrs. J was part of that cast, and she is a woman of character. She refused to sit back and allow Phaledi to spread all the misinformation about Noxy. This for Phaledi meant if what she was trying to do was going to work, she had to dig her heels deeper and move with an iron fist when it came to Noxy. And once a person has passed the jealousy stage, they have now entered the envy stage. This is when they become so consumed by their subject of envy that their behavior starts to become more irate, impulsive, and irrational. It is a bittersweet situation to be in if you find yourself being a subject of someone's envy, because a lot of the times when they enter the stage of envy, this behavior will certainly cause them to self-sabotage. But before that happens, you have to endure an immense amount of criticism, attacks, and just a whole lot of schemes that are uncalled for. This is when we witness the relentless nature and attacks by Pheladi towards Noxy to a point that it started to be irrational and barbaric. She basically attacked everything about Noxy, from implying that Noxy is immoral for dancing in a bar with her husband, and called her a brothel and Oxford Road because of it. She went on to say Noxy was racist because she thinks she's white since she's married to a white man, which was absolutely untrue. Anyone who watched the show knows that Noxy never even spoke anything about her husband except that one story she shared at the beginning of the season about going to Scotland, and she never even had any conversation or any racially charged conversation. She has never had any conversation about her husband in general. Pheladi spoke about Noxy's husband, Noxy's white husband, more than Noxy even spoke about her own husband, which is the irrationality that I'm referring to. And she also went on to attack how Noxy carries herself and her mannerisms. There's this one scene where Pheladi was just attacking Noxy for how she held her glass, saying, "Oh, you're holding that glass like you think you're better than us." That's the irrationality and just irate behavior. Because where do you get all these ideas? It seems like you're in an internal war with yourself, and Noxy is the chosen victim that you're willing to put that hatred on so you can feel better about yourself. That's basically what I was thinking about the entire time. as she was attacking Noxy. Sure to hijack every moment when Noxy was trying to express herself and authentically connect with the other women to further imply that she was acting and being dramatic, ultimately downplaying her views and emotions. Noxy's light irritated Phaledi's demons, and this triggered a very dark and dangerous obsession within Phaledi, where she wanted to dim Noxy's light at all cost. As a result, Phaledi spearheaded a smear campaign against Noxy, recruiting others to help her in her twisted quest. This is how and why her scheme of flying monkeys was formed. Happy, Vui, and Miss Sunday. It is after Phaledi was completely consumed by her envy for Noxy that she began a very premeditated and systematic psychological attack against Noxy. One of the very prominent and important psychological tactics Phaledi deployed in her twisted quest was projection. Psychological projection was conceptualized by Sigmund Freud as an unconscious mechanism where one describes one's own motives, thoughts, feelings, and desires that are unacceptable to oneself while attributing them to others. It is a misalignment of the inner and outer world because of what one is inwardly, one will see outwardly. When we experience, for example, betrayal, abuse, and discomfort, we might very well be distrustful of others. This is a defense mechanism, a projection from one's psychological history. When we find unacceptable feelings, thoughts, or behaviors in ourselves that we refuse to acknowledge and we see someone with those specific traits, we feel resentment, hatred, and anger towards them. Projection does not occur because of what other people say to you, but rather because of what you yourself think about those people. Negative projection is more likely to occur in people that have a low self-esteem and low self-image. For example, a man is afraid to voice his opinion in very important matters related to his job because he does not like conflict. He is insecure, is too shy, and chooses to be passive and do his work quietly. Then his colleague, however, is assertive and makes his opinions heard in every meeting. The first coworker believes he has much more better opinions. This results over time in his coworker getting a promotion. Once he returns home, he will feel hatred for himself and project it onto his coworker who has the qualities that he wants to possess. So Pheladi was projecting on Noxy because Noxy has all the qualities that she wants to possess. By pointing our finger to other people, it helps reduce the discomfort, anxiety, and bad feelings about ourselves and avoid taking accountability to help implement those good qualities in ourselves because it's too painful or too difficult or uncomfortable. In this way, one denies that the bad qualities are theirs and attributes them to others. One judges, attacks, or blames others for their own emotions about themselves. One who lives through projection is convinced that it is the others that have bad qualities and practice all their vices. Therefore, it is they who are wrong, and it is they that must be fought against. When one thinks everything is someone else's fault, one will suffer a lot. Projection occurs on an unconscious level. It is unperceived by the projector herself. There is a saying, the projections of a narcissist are confessions of a narcissist. So, therefore, coming to the conclusion that everything Pheladi was projecting towards Noxy are confessions from her own subconscious about herself. So I know one might ask, so if this whole situation was caused by Phaledi's internalized hatred for herself, why did the other women participate? Well, projection can be extended to whole groups of people with specific ideas. It is possible for a person to infect others with their paranoid ideas and a sizable group to take up erroneous judgment until another group sets the masses straight. This is known as collective contagion. Whole groups can project collectively so that their mistake in judgment passes officially for the acceptable description of reality. This was very clear that after a few episodes where Phaledi was projecting on Noxy and she had successfully convinced some of the other women that Noxy was not who she portrayed herself to be, and just like she was able to taint Noxy's character, the collective contagion took place. This is why people like Pheladi rely on the assistance of a whole group of flying monkeys, because they set up a system where Pheladi acts as the self-appointed judge, jury, and executioner of Noxy's life, and the flying monkeys act as the upholders of the projections by Pheladi as the law and truth. The presence of Miss J ensured that the group projection wasn't successful by upholding the actual truth. This is why later in the season, Phaledi's hatred for Noxy transferred to Mrs. J, because she saw her as the one person standing between her and her goals, which was to destroy Noxy. What is clear from watching the show is that Pheladi is a physically beautiful woman that has benefited from what is known as pretty privilege. This is the advantage gained by those perceived as physically attractive. She is clearly used to being a bully without consequence, because she is vividly aware of the halo effect, which occurs when an observer assumes an attractive person is more likely to perform good behaviors than bad. And another very important aspect of Pheladi's personality is the daddy issues. Her marrying a man 33 years her senior is a clear sign of daddy issues, which resulted in Pheladi having a weak sense of self, a very severe insecurities, as well as very little to no boundaries when it comes to her body, hence her dating married men and just her promiscuity. Excuse me. She also is someone that harbors serious anger and resentment towards her mother. This we see through how she relates with other women with so much vitriol and hatred. So there you have it, guys. Pheladi is a textbook narcissist with a god complex and is a chronic projector that doesn't see the people around her as humans with emotions and dreams, but sees them as another piece in a chess set, just there for her to use, abuse, and discard to achieve her goals. Pheladi is conventionally beautiful, while on the other hand, Noxy is not necessarily conventionally beautiful. Noxy's beauty lies in her spirit. She is spiritually beautiful. Pheladi grew up knowing and being told that beautiful girls like her deserve everything they want, and this is how she's navigated her life. She came to the show, she saw Noxy and got extremely triggered by Noxy not being as beautiful as her, but having all the things she grew up being told she deserved and more. Everything Pheladi put Noxy through had nothing to do with Noxy, but everything to do with her own internal war, self-hatred, and psychological programming. Thank you guys for watching. Catch me on the next video. Bye.